Have you ever noticed that when your life begins to change, the questions people ask you begin to change as well? When you are struggling, most people barely pay attention. But the moment you start growing, achieving, healing, or becoming the person you were meant to be, certain voices suddenly become curious. Yet not all curiosity comes from admiration. Sometimes it comes from comparison. Sometimes it comes from insecurity. And sometimes it comes from jealousy quietly hiding behind a smile. The truth is that jealous people rarely announce their feelings openly. Instead, they reveal them through the questions they ask, questions designed to measure your success, challenge your confidence, or make you doubt your own journey. Today, we are going to uncover 5 questions that jealous people often ask, and more importantly, learn why their words should never have the power to define your worth. Because when you understand the difference between genuine interest and hidden envy, you stop seeking approval from others and start walking boldly in your own light. One of the most important lessons you will ever learn is that not every question is asked with good intentions. Some people genuinely want to understand your journey. They celebrate your victories, support your growth, and feel inspired by your progress. Their curiosity comes from a place of respect, but there are others whose questions carry a different energy. Their words may sound polite, their smiles may appear sincere, yet beneath the surface they are not seeking understanding. They are seeking comparison. They are trying to measure your success against their own expectations, and sometimes they are searching for reasons why your achievements should not matter. Jealousy is rarely loud at first. It does not always arrive as criticism or open hostility. More often it enters quietly, disguised as interest. A person may ask how you accomplished something, but they are not really interested in learning. They are hoping to find a shortcut, a hidden advantage, or an explanation that makes your success seem less impressive. They want to believe that luck, timing, or outside help played a bigger role than your dedication. Accepting the truth that you worked hard, stayed disciplined, and kept moving forward despite difficulties can be uncomfortable for someone who has spent more time comparing than growing. Many people assume that jealousy always comes from strangers, but often it comes from those who have watched your journey closely. They remember who you used to be. They remember your mistakes, your setbacks, and your moments of uncertainty. When they see you becoming stronger, wiser, and more successful, it challenges the image they have held of you for years. Instead of adjusting their perspective, some begin asking questions that subtly pull your progress into doubt. They may not even realize they are doing it. Their own insecurities speak through them before their wisdom has a chance to intervene. The challenge is that these conversations can slowly affect your confidence if you are not careful. When someone repeatedly questions your choices, your achievements, or your growth, you may feel tempted to explain yourself. You may find yourself defending decisions that never required approval in the first place. Yet there comes a moment when you must understand that not every question deserves an answer. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Your purpose is not to convince others that your progress is real. Your purpose is to continue progressing. People who are secure in themselves usually ask questions that build bridges. They ask because they want to learn, encourage, and connect. Jealous people often ask questions that create comparisons. Their focus is not on your story, but on how your story makes them feel about their own. This is why wisdom requires more than listening to words. It requires listening to intentions. The same question can carry encouragement from one person and envy from another. As you continue growing in life, remember that your responsibility is not to manage other people's emotions. You cannot shrink your dreams to make someone else comfortable. You cannot hide your light so that others never feel challenged by its brightness. When curiosity is genuine, embrace it with gratitude. But when curiosity is merely jealousy wearing a mask, do not allow it to steal your peace. Keep moving forward with humility, grace, and confidence. The people who are meant to celebrate your growth will never need you to become smaller so they can feel bigger. They will simply be happy to see you rise. Have you ever sat in a conversation and realized that someone was telling you far more about themselves than they were learning about you? It is one of the quiet truths of human nature. The questions people ask, especially the ones they ask repeatedly, often reveal what is happening inside their own minds. While they may believe they are investigating your life, they are actually exposing their fears, their doubts, their values, and sometimes their insecurities. If you pay close attention, you will discover that people rarely speak from an empty place. Their words are usually connected to what occupies their thoughts when no one else is around. A person who constantly asks whether something will fail may be revealing their own fear of failure. Someone who repeatedly questions whether success can last may be exposing their own uncertainty about achievement. A person who cannot stop talking about what could go wrong is often carrying worries they have not yet learned how to overcome. This does not make them bad people. It simply reminds us that every individual sees the world through the lens of their own experiences. What they notice, what they question, and what they focus on are often reflections of what is happening within them. When people are secure in themselves, their questions tend to come from a place of curiosity and growth. They ask how you learned a skill because they want to learn it too. They ask about your journey because they appreciate the lessons it may offer. They listen with an open heart rather than a competitive spirit. Their questions create connection. They leave you feeling encouraged rather than examined. They make you feel understood instead of judged. But insecurity has a different voice. It often disguises itself as curiosity while carrying a hidden agenda. An insecure person may ask questions that constantly challenge your choices, your achievements, or your confidence. They may seem focused on your life, but in reality they are wrestling with their own concerns. They are searching for reassurance that they have not fallen behind. They are looking for evidence that your success is not as significant as it appears. They are trying to protect themselves from feelings they do not fully understand. This is why wisdom requires us to listen beyond the surface of words. If someone repeatedly questions your abilities, it does not automatically mean there is something wrong with your abilities. It may simply mean they are struggling to believe in their own. If someone always doubts your future, it does not mean your future is uncertain. It may mean they have difficulty trusting their own path. Their questions are often mirrors reflecting their inner world, not accurate measurements of yours. Too many people spend years defending themselves against opinions that were never truly about them. They exhaust themselves trying to prove their worth, explain their dreams, or justify their progress. Yet the moment you understand that people reveal themselves through their questions, a certain freedom begins to emerge. You stop carrying burdens that do not belong to you. You stop accepting every judgment as truth. You recognize that another person's insecurity is not your responsibility to fix. The next time someone asks a question that feels unusually negative, dismissive, or loaded with doubt, pause and consider what it might reveal about them rather than what it says about you. Not every question deserves a defensive response. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is simply understanding where the question is coming from. When you learn this lesson, you protect your peace, you gain clarity, and most importantly, you continue moving forward without allowing someone else's fears to become your own. There is a reality about success that many people do not talk about often enough. Success does not only change your circumstances, it changes the way people respond to you. When you begin to grow, improve, and move closer to the life you have worked for, you may expect everyone around you to be happy for you. After all, if you care about someone, you naturally want to see them succeed. Yet life has a way of revealing that not everyone celebrates progress in the same way. While some people are inspired by your growth, others become uncomfortable simply because your journey reminds them of roads they never chose to travel. Your success can act like a mirror. It reflects what is possible, what can be achieved through effort, and what can happen when a person refuses to give up. For those who are actively pursuing their own goals, this reflection can be motivating. They see your progress and think, if they can do it, maybe I can too. Your story becomes proof that perseverance matters. It encourages them to keep moving forward even when the path becomes difficult. But for others, that same reflection can create discomfort, not because you have done anything wrong, but because your growth forces them to confront their own choices. It reminds them of dreams they postponed, talents they neglected, and opportunities they allowed to pass by. Instead of seeing your success as inspiration, they see it as evidence of what they believe they are missing. The discomfort they feel has very little to do with you and everything to do with the conversation they are having with themselves. This is why some people become distant when you start achieving things they once said were impossible. It is why support sometimes becomes silence and encouragement sometimes turns into skepticism. The person who once cheered for your dreams may suddenly question your decisions. The person who once believed in your potential may start focusing on your mistakes. It can be confusing when this happens, especially when you have worked hard and expected your success to bring people closer. Yet growth has a way of revealing who is genuinely happy to see you rise and who was only comfortable with the version of you that stayed the same. The important thing to understand is that you are not responsible for making your success easier for others to accept. Too many people shrink themselves to protect the comfort of those around them. They stop sharing their achievements, they lower their ambitions, they hide their excitement. They become smaller than they were meant to be because they fear making someone else uncomfortable. But there is no honor in dimming your light simply because it shines brightly. True friends, true supporters, and truly confident people do not feel threatened by another person's growth. They understand that your success does not take anything away from theirs. They know that life is not a competition where one person's victory requires another person's defeat. They celebrate your achievements because they recognize that abundance is not limited. There is room for many people to thrive, many people to grow, and many people to succeed. As you continue your journey, remember that discomfort from others is not always a sign that you should stop. Sometimes it is evidence that you are moving beyond old limitations. Keep growing with humility. Keep succeeding with gratitude. Keep pursuing your purpose with courage. The people who are meant to walk beside you will find inspiration in your progress, not resentment. And those who are troubled by your growth are often being challenged by something much deeper than your success. They are being challenged by the dreams within themselves that they have yet to pursue. One of the fastest ways to lose joy in life is to spend too much time comparing your journey to someone else's. Comparison has existed for generations, but in today's world, it has become even more common. People constantly measure their progress against the achievements, appearances, possessions, and accomplishments of others. Instead of appreciating how far they have come, they focus on how far ahead someone else seems to be. This habit may appear harmless at first, but it often becomes the very foundation upon which jealousy is built. Every person enters life with a different story, a different set of challenges, and a different path to walk. No two journeys are exactly alike. Some people begin with opportunities that others never receive. Some face obstacles that few people ever see. Some discover their purpose early, while others spend years searching for direction. Yet comparison ignores all of these differences. It looks at the outcome without understanding the process. It focuses on the visible results while overlooking the invisible struggles that helped create them. When people compare themselves to others, they often compare their private reality to someone else's public success. They see the victory but not the sacrifice. They see the confidence but not the years of self-doubt. They see the achievement but not the countless moments when that person wanted to quit. As a result, comparison creates an unfair picture. It convinces people that someone else's journey has been easier, smoother, or more fortunate than their own. From that misunderstanding, jealousy begins to grow. Jealousy thrives wherever comparison is allowed to take root. A person who constantly measures themselves against others rarely feels satisfied for long. Even when they accomplish something meaningful, they quickly look around and find someone who appears to have more. There is always another achievement, another milestone, another success story. Because of this, comparison becomes a race with no finish line. No matter how much progress is made, it never feels like enough. What makes comparison so dangerous is that it shifts attention away from personal growth. Instead of asking, how can I become better than I was yesterday? A person begins asking, why am I not as successful as them? The focus moves away from improvement and toward competition. Energy that could have been invested in learning, creating, and growing is wasted on resentment and frustration. The person becomes so distracted by someone else's path that they lose sight of their own. The truth is that life was never designed to be lived as a comparison contest. Your purpose is not to become a copy of another person. Your purpose is to become the fullest version of yourself. The gifts you possess, the lessons you learn, and the experiences you gain are uniquely yours. When you understand this, you begin to appreciate your own progress rather than constantly measuring it against someone else's timeline. People who find peace in life are often those who have learned to celebrate the success of others without questioning their own worth. They understand that another person's achievement is not evidence of their failure. Someone else's victory does not diminish their potential. There is enough opportunity, enough growth, and enough possibility for everyone to pursue meaningful success in their own way. When you stop comparing your journey to the journeys of others, something remarkable happens. Jealousy loses its power. Gratitude begins to grow. Confidence becomes stronger. You start recognizing your own progress, your own strengths, and your own accomplishments. Instead of looking sideways at what others have, you look forward toward where you are going. And in that moment, you discover a freedom that comparison can never provide. The freedom to walk your path with peace, purpose, and genuine joy. At some point in your journey, if you continue to work hard and make progress, you will likely hear a familiar question. How did you get so lucky? On the surface, it sounds harmless. It may even sound like a compliment. But often, hidden within that question is a misunderstanding about how success is created. What many people call luck is frequently the result of years of effort that no one noticed, sacrifices that no one applauded, and persistence that no one celebrated. They see the outcome, but they were not there for the process. People have a natural tendency to focus on visible victories. They notice the promotion, but they do not see the late nights spent learning new skills. They notice the successful business, but they do not see the years of uncertainty that came before it. They notice the confident speaker, but they do not remember the countless moments of fear that person had to overcome. The world often sees the harvest while remaining blind to the seasons of planting, waiting, and hard work that made the harvest possible. There is something comforting about believing that success is mostly luck. If achievement is simply a matter of chance, then there is no need to examine our own habits, decisions, or level of commitment. We can explain away another person's accomplishments without asking ourselves difficult questions. We can convince ourselves that they were fortunate rather than disciplined, blessed rather than persistent, lucky rather than prepared. It becomes easier to attribute their success to circumstances than to acknowledge the determination that helped create it. The reality is that what people call luck is often preparation meeting opportunity. Opportunities appear in everyone's life, but not everyone is ready when they arrive. The person who seems fortunate may have spent years developing the knowledge, skills, and character needed to recognize and seize that opportunity. When the moment finally came, they were prepared. To outside observers, it looked sudden. To the person who lived through it, it was the result of a long journey. Think about the countless hours that exist behind every meaningful achievement. Think about the mornings when motivation was absent, but the work continued anyway. Think about the disappointments, the mistakes, the failures, and the moments of self-doubt. Think about the sacrifices made while others were resting, the discipline maintained while others were distracted, and the courage required to keep going when results were nowhere in sight. These moments rarely make headlines. They rarely attract attention, yet they are often the true foundation of success. This is why you should never allow someone else's oversimplified view of your journey to define it. If people call your hard work luck, let them. You know the truth. You know the effort you invested when nobody was watching. You know the challenges you faced and the obstacles you overcame. You know the days when quitting would have been easier than continuing. Those experiences are part of your story, whether others recognize them or not. At the same time, it is important to remain humble. Humility allows us to acknowledge that opportunities, support from others, and favorable circumstances can play a role in our lives. None of us succeeds entirely alone, yet humility should never require you to ignore your own dedication. There is a difference between being grateful for opportunities and pretending that your effort did not matter. Both can be true at the same time. So, when someone asks, "How did you get so lucky?" remember that they are only seeing a small chapter of a much larger story. They are seeing the result, not the years that produced it. Continue honoring the work that brought you this far. Continue investing in your growth. And remember that the most powerful achievements are often built in silence long before they are ever recognized by the world. What appears to be luck from a distance is often the reward of perseverance up close. As you continue to grow, pursue your goals, and build a life that reflects your values, there is another question you may eventually hear. Do you really think you can keep this up? It is often spoken with a calm voice and wrapped in the language of concern. The person asking may appear worried about your well-being, your energy, or your future. Sometimes their concern is genuine, but other times the question carries something deeper. It is not about your limits, it is about their belief in those limits. It is a reflection of what they think is possible, not necessarily what is possible for you. Many people become comfortable with the version of you they have always known. They understand your old habits, your old routines, and your old struggles. When you begin to change, it challenges their expectations. They may have accepted your dreams when those dreams seem distant, but when your progress becomes real, something shifts. Suddenly, your growth is no longer a conversation, it is evidence. And evidence has a way of making people reconsider what they once believed about you. The question itself is powerful because it targets endurance rather than achievement. Reaching a goal is one thing, sustaining growth is another. The person asking may not challenge what you have already accomplished. Instead, they question whether you can continue. It is a subtle form of doubt. Rather than focusing on your strengths, it directs attention toward the possibility of failure. It encourages you to imagine yourself falling short before you have even had the chance to move forward. What many people fail to understand is that lasting success is rarely built on bursts of motivation alone. It is built on consistency. The individual who continues showing up, even on difficult days, often achieves more than the person who relies solely on excitement and inspiration. Growth does not require perfection. It requires commitment. It requires the willingness to keep taking steps forward, even when progress feels slow. Those who have never developed this mindset may struggle to understand it when they see it in others. Sometimes people question your ability to continue because they are measuring you according to their own experiences. If they have abandoned goals in the past, they may assume you will do the same. If they have struggled to remain disciplined, they may project that struggle onto you. Without realizing it, they use their limitations as a standard for everyone else. But your journey is not determined by another person's expectations. Their doubts do not define your capacity. There is also a deeper reason why this question appears so often. Consistent growth can make others uncomfortable because it removes excuses. When someone sees you continuing to improve month after month and year after year, it becomes harder to dismiss your success as luck or coincidence. Consistency proves that your achievements are not accidents. They are the result of choices repeated over time. For those who are unwilling to make similar commitments, this realization can be difficult to accept. The most effective response to doubt is not a long explanation. It is continued action. Every day you remain committed to your purpose becomes an answer. Every challenge you overcome becomes an answer. Every obstacle that fails to stop you becomes an answer. Over time, persistence speaks more clearly than words ever could. People may question your ability today, but consistency has a way of silencing skepticism tomorrow. Life will always present moments when you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. No one maintains perfect confidence every day. Yet resilience is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to continue despite it. The strongest people are not those who never face difficulties. They are those who refuse to let difficulties determine their future. So if someone asks, "Do you really think you can keep this up?" remember that the question says more about their perspective than your potential. Your responsibility is not to convince them. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to the path you have chosen. Keep learning, keep growing, keep showing up, and let your consistency become the answer that no argument could ever provide. Over time, what once seemed impossible to others will simply become the story of a person who refused to stop believing in their own journey. As your accomplishments become more visible, there is another question that may begin to appear in conversations. Who helped you get there? On the surface, it can sound like a reasonable question. After all, none of us walks through life completely alone. We all learn from others, receive encouragement, and benefit from opportunities that come through relationships. But sometimes this question is not asked to understand your journey. Sometimes it is asked with a different intention. Instead of appreciating the effort behind your success, the person is searching for a reason to explain it away. They are looking for evidence that your achievement belongs more to someone else than to you. It is interesting how people often respond to success. When a person struggles, few people ask who helped create the struggle. When someone faces setbacks, disappointments, or failures, the responsibility is usually placed entirely on their shoulders. Yet, when success arrives, some suddenly become eager to find outside explanations. They search for connections, advantages, special treatment, or influential supporters. They want to discover a reason that makes your achievement seem less impressive than it truly is. The truth is that every meaningful accomplishment is usually a combination of support and effort. A mentor can offer guidance, but they cannot walk the journey for you. A teacher can provide knowledge, but they cannot force you to apply it. A friend can encourage you, but they cannot develop your discipline. Opportunities may open doors, but someone still has to step through them. Support matters, but support alone does not create results. The individual must still do the work required to transform potential into reality. Think about the countless people who receive advice but never act on it. Think about those who are given opportunities but fail to take advantage of them. Access alone does not guarantee success. Guidance alone does not guarantee growth. The difference is often found in personal responsibility. It is found in the willingness to stay committed when challenges arise. It is found in the determination to keep moving forward long after excitement has faded. These qualities cannot be handed to a person by anyone else. Sometimes people ask who helped you because they struggle to believe that consistent effort can truly change a life. They find it easier to assume that someone opened every door for you than to accept the possibility that you knocked on those doors yourself. They focus on the assistance you received while overlooking the sacrifices you made. They notice the people standing beside you at the finish line, but ignore the long stretches of road you traveled alone. What they often fail to see are the quiet moments that shaped your journey. They do not see the hours spent learning when no one was watching. They do not see the discipline required to stay focused while distractions pulled in every direction. They do not see the failures that taught valuable lessons or the setbacks that strengthened your character. These experiences rarely attract attention, yet they are often the true architects of success. At the same time, there is wisdom in remaining grateful. Gratitude allows us to acknowledge those who contributed to our growth without diminishing our own efforts. There is no weakness in admitting that others helped along the way. In fact, strong people are often the first to recognize the value of encouragement, mentorship, and support. The mistake is believing that gratitude requires you to ignore the work you personally invested. It does not.